The station where our veterans' voices are heard. MBR Talk.
Hey, thanks for supporting our channel by watching and listening.
Find us on the web at mbradio.us.
Desde Brooklyn hasta el sol del Medio Oriente, José Flores con fuego en la mente. Raised in the Bronx where dreams don't sleep, donde el hambre te enseña a resistir. Section 8 life, no handouts, no cheat. He built his power from the pain on the street.
Cada golpe, cada lágrima caída fue el fuego que encendió su vida. Ahora camina con propósito y voz. José Flores, hear the noise. De la calle al combate, turn his trials into faith. Disciplina y con fe, now he rises every day. From the block to the world sin temor.
If you ever need a haircut,
So
that these kids can learn how to play instruments or want to, not just learn, but want
30
to.
years deep,
But I think that
marching through war zones,
there's
never
a major
lost sight.
shift.
Iraq to Korea, he led from the front. Now he lifts others, never just stunts. Hoy es mentor, líder, amigo.
So, my goodness, welcome to the Motivated Mindset. I'm your host, Jose Flores. Woo, yay, yay. Hey, look, straight out of the Bronx, raised in Brooklyn, you know, that New York flavor, that hustle, right? And it's still in me every day. You know, I'm a combat veteran. I served 30 years in the United States Army. And before we get started, I want to set out a big salute to all my veterans, to all my supporters out there, my first responders, especially in the times that we're going through right now. You know, it's never easy when you got to go through a lot of stuff, you know, and this channel is about resilience. It's about, you know, transformation. You know, it's about changing the way that we look at life, especially in these times, you know, but because it isn't just about motivation. It's about, como dicen, transformation. You know what I'm saying? How you doing? You've been working out? Yeah, I'm from Brooklyn, New York. If you don't know, you better ask somebody. But check it out. What I want to do is we're going to talk about today's guest, you know, who's truly represents leadership, resilience, and the power of widening our circle of support. Dr. Ana Maria is a visionary leader who has spent her careers navigating complex workplace dynamics, helping dynamic, how you would say, teams, organizations thrive through uncertainty, and empowering leaders to grow through authenticity and collaboration. Originally from Colombia, Dr. Ana Maria brings a powerful global perspective to everything she does. She is fluent in Spanish and English and speaks conversational Portuguese. And has dedicated her life to creating spaces where diverse cultures, voices, and perspectives come together to drive meaningful change. She holds a PhD in Latin American Studies from Tulane University, a distinction held by less than 1% of Latinas. That is stupendous. That's what I'm talking about. A remarkable achievement that reflects her dedication, resilience, and commitment to education and leadership. Over the past 15 years, she has worked across education, nonprofit, and corporate sectors, guiding teams through major challenges, including COVID-19 and Hurricane Ida, helping leaders navigate crisis with clarity, courage, and compassion. Dr. Ana Maria is also an ICF-certified leadership coach, specializing in leadership development, culture competence, and strategic negotiation, helping leaders thrive in today's rapidly changing world. But what I admire most about her is her work, her belief that none of us, you know, succeed alone. That's why today's conversation focuses on a powerful topic, widening your circle of support. Because in leadership, como la vida, like in life, in personal growth, the strength of your journey often depends on the strength of the people around you. I say your tribe, right? And so we have to get ready for what we're about to talk about, for a thoughtful, powerful conversation. So please join me in welcoming the incredible leader and coach, Dr. Ana Maria. But one last thing, I know, right? I got to throw that in there, right? If this conversation vibes with you, if you like what you're hearing, right? All I ask is that you support the channel. That's how we support the channel. I think I got my link right here. I'm gonna put it in the thing because I know you may be watching from another thing. I'm gonna put this in the link. and just support the channel, because that's what we want to see, is people to support so we can continue. Bring this up. Here we go. So you see it. Paste. There we go. There it goes. So hey, we're gonna get ready. We're gonna bring on Dr. Ana Maria and give us a moment.
The interview of the week is brought to you by Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Hey, welcome, ma'am. Gracias for being on the show. We're good. You're on mute. That's okay.
Thank you so much for hosting me. And I gotta say, I love your intro video. It's such a vibe. What a song.
Well, thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. You know, I got to bring the salsa, the merengue, the cumbia. I got to bring a little bit of that
Yes.
spiciness, you know?
I love it. I love it all.
Well, no, thank you, ma'am. Thank you again for being on the show with us. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where you're from, ma'am, before we get into your passion.
Yes, absolutely. So, Jose, I was born in Colombia. I was born in Bogota. And I lived there until I was 13 years old.
Mhm.
And then I moved to New Jersey. So yeah, I'm Colombian and American. I've been, like really grateful for the life that I've had and the access that I've had in the United States. I lived in Jersey. That's where I went to middle school, high school, community college,
Mhm.
and then eventually came to Maryland for my undergrad in business administration. And then I had the privilege of living in New Orleans for 8 years. That's where I got my master's and PhD in Latin American studies, and where I got to be a school principal of an early college program. And I'm back in DC now. So really loving living in our nation's capital.
That is New Jersey. Oh my goodness. Okay. All right. Right across the street from New York City, where I'm from.
That's right. And that was Elizabeth, New Jersey. I'm sure you're familiar. The 908 area code, exit 13 in the highway.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I know we talked about this. I love New Orleans. That is just a very special place in my heart. It's so nice.
Same. I absolutely love it with my whole heart. What a beautiful place.
Oh my goodness. So, what was some of the things that growing up that made you go into education and do what you do? What was some of your, let's say, mentors, or, what were the things that made you do what you do now?
Let's see. I think that there was a lot of learning and unlearning that I had to do in terms of like my trajectory as I was growing up. I grew up relatively privileged in Colombia and feeling like I, like just kind of being part of the majority, the status quo, and just not really having to think my identity too much. And when I moved to the United States, that shifted for me because, I was learning English, I was assimilating to the culture, and it was a very, it was a shift that took a lot of time to process, to learn, and to figure out how to connect to the culture. And in that process, I learned a lot about the importance of having a diversity of experiences in the room, and like the importance and the beauty of what different people with different lived experiences bring. And so that story, that immigration story, that experience really inspired me to figure out how to use my talent, which, I would say like my zone of genius is everything that has to do with interpersonal skills, like understanding social cues, understanding how folks are feeling, trying to connect with folks, how to use that in my leadership skills to think about opening making the table more accessible to different folks, making sure that there's room for everybody. So yeah, I would say that's one of the reasons or the lived experiences that led me to the work that I currently do.
That's wonderful. And we need more of that, to be at the table, as we say, and I know that you're fluent in Spanish, of course, English, and conversational Portuguese. How is it that being multi-language help you build bridges across cultures and communities?
Well, I would say, like culture and language is just such a beautiful thing in terms of you have access to like a whole new world that otherwise you wouldn't have access to, because it's not necessarily like you translate everything, like it's the same information and you just get to translate it. There's like beauty in certain words and certain vocabulary, for example, that doesn't carry the same meaning in each language, right? So for example, in Portuguese, the word saudade, which means like too long, to feel nostalgic about something, like it hits different when you use it in Portuguese, right? And in Spanish, for example, there's a word that's called estrenar, which means when you wear something for the first time, or when you open a gift and you use it for the first time. And that's like a really fun word. Like if you're like at Christmas and you like, you know, got a new toy, you know, like estrenando, right? But like it doesn't quite literally translate, right? It's like an experience that has to do with this specific culture. And that's really cool, right? And so by having access to language, it's almost like you have a window or a door, access to like a new way to like live or experience or learn. So yeah, that I just find that to be like really fun and exciting, right? Like the music, the access to food, and like the flexibility of the brain when you're open to different ways of looking at life. It's just it just makes everything so much richer and exciting.
Yes. And we have, I think, a comment in the comments that love that phrasing. The intersection of culture and language is beautiful.
I love that.
That is awesome. And we got one for, oh my God, TC Cooper. She says, love. Let me see, where was it? I just got it. Here we go. That's the one. I think someone says, love that phrasing. Oh, and they say it's beautiful. They just made a comment and liked it. We're getting a lot of feedback. That is stupendous. You know, you say you've had, you know, you have 15 years of leadership and experience, especially navigating COVID-19 and Hurricane Ida. Did I say that right? Ida.
Yes.
Ida. You know, what were some of the most powerful leadership lessons you learned during those challenging times, if you can share?
Yeah, I would say, oh man, those were really vulnerable times during both things, Hurricane Ida and the start of the pandemic. I was running an early college program in New Orleans, and you know, there was issues with the infrastructure in the city, just lack of access in many ways, in like really frustrating ways as a leader, just because of like ways in which systems have failed our people. And, you know, and then you exacerbate that by having a pandemic or having a hurricane that made, you know, like the majority of the city, we had to evacuate and we were out of the city for several weeks and, you know, like so many disruptions. And, you know, I think it's really humbling as a leader to not know the answers. And to have to be vulnerable and to have to listen to folks and to kind of just like think on your feet. And so, yeah, I would say one of the lessons of that time period for me is, and something that I've studied now that as a change management consultant, as I support leaders through chaos, is when people are in a moment of chaos, they're really looking for stability from a leader. And they deserve that from a leader. And the thing is that as a leader, when you're experiencing something like a pandemic, sometimes you think that you cannot provide that stability because you may not have the answers. However, when a leader is vulnerable and is able to say out loud some of the things that people are thinking about, right? Like, you know what? Like, this is really frustrating, or this is really scary for A, B, and C reasons. And you want me to have the answer for this thing. And guess what? I don't have it. But let me tell you specifically how I'm going to go and find that answer. And I'm going to be accountable to you by sharing an answer to you by this Friday in terms of like the status of where we're at. Being able as a leader to create structure and to create stability, it's not equal to having all the answers. You could do both. You could be in a moment of chaos and not have the answers, and you could still be the stable, accountable leader that your people need you to be.
No, absolutely. You know, which brings to the point, because you know why we're talking about it, and why is building a strong network particularly important for professionals from underrepresented backgrounds?
Yes. Okay. So you're asking me that question of like, okay, as leaders, we all know that it's important to build a network, right? To think about um our circle of support, right? Like who are the people who have our backs essentially. And and then you're asking me like, why is it particularly important for underrepresented folks?
Yeah.
And I'll tell you what, Jose, there's a lot of research that shows that there's this thing called in-group bias, which means every single one of us, myself included, we have biases. And we may have preferences when we feel like we identify with somebody else. So for example, let's say like I'm a big Ravens fan. I'm not a football person. But just as a
right.
So and then I meet other people who are also Ravens fans. Subconsciously, I may have a bias towards them, and I may want to like support them in some way, shape, or form. And that happens no matter what your identity is, no matter who you are. That's part of like our defense mechanisms and our survival skills as humans, right? Like we need to make generalizations and we need to figure out who are the people who generally we think we can trust, and we need to make those decisions fast, right? And so that definition of in-group bias means that we are going to be more likely to favor certain people if we feel like we identify as them. And that's just, that's just a fact of life.
Yeah. Yes.
Now, when we actually think about corporate America or just the like workspaces in the context of the United States, we know that the general population is not represented in leadership in the same percentages, right? Like
Right.
If we think about the Latino community, 20% of the US population are Latino. And then if you look at executive leaders, less than 1% of women are Latinas. If we go back to that definition of in-group bias, if I'm trying to move up the corporate ladder and there are no people or very few people who identify the way I do, that in-group bias is not gonna work in my favor, right? I'm not gonna have, it doesn't mean like, and let me be clear, like there's, like you could have an in-group bias. Like I could identify as someone as just like loving to dance, and that's something that's going to give me an edge with somebody, right? But in general, right, like as we think about our intersectionality, if we are underrepresented and we think about that hierarchy, that means that our circle of support is automatically slightly smaller, right? Like we have to work a little bit harder to be able to benefit from a network. Like we need to be intentional about creating a network. And so it doesn't matter who you are or how you identify. We also know that there's a lot of research that shows that who your network is one of the most important predictors of how you're able to move up within leadership, right? The higher up you go within leadership, the more those decisions are made based on who's at the table and what do they know about you. So for that reason, one of the most important things that you could do for your career is to build a really, really strong network of folks. And we'll talk about what that could look like, but folks who would be in your corner, essentially.
Yeah. And I mean, that's a good point, and I've seen this. I've sat on some interview panels when you're interviewing and somebody can say, they went to Tulane, and automatically there's a connection there, which exactly what you're saying. And they may not be the best, let's say the best candidate, but because that connection's there, they're more likely to go with them,
Absolutely.
I have seen that. Yes. And what you said about, it's not what you know, but who you know. And, so in your opinion, what are some of the mindset shift to help people overcome the hesitation to reach out and start building that professional relationship?
Yeah. So this comes up a lot with my clients. And I'll tell you, my clients are oftentimes high achievers who also are very values aligned. So like people who really like care about the world and really want to do work that's meaningful. And on top of that, they like work really, really hard.
Yes.
Folks that have that profile in particular, really oftentimes feel hesitant to connect with people for networking because they feel like it's transactional. They're like, oh, I don't want to go reach out to so and so and like ask to pick their brain. I don't want to like be a nuisance. I don't want to, and that's fair. A lot of folks have experienced, have had that feeling. And what I would say, and for everybody who's listening, what I would invite you to think about is, how can we reframe thinking about your network, not in an extractivist way where we are seeking something out as a favor and extracting something from somebody else, but like, how can we be playful? Number one, networking is all about experimenting and figuring out, like trying stuff on and figuring out what works for us and what feels authentic to us. But number two, how can we show up with the mentality of, how can we help each other? How can we be a community, right?
Yes.
Because when we go into these ideas of networking and we think about them in a very hierarchical way, like I'm going to talk to my boss or my boss's boss or somebody who's 10 steps ahead of me. That's good. That's not the only network. We need people everywhere. Right. But we often place all the value on them and we forget how valuable we are, right? And the reality is, you're incredible. You've worked really hard. You have a lot to offer. You have a lot of opinions that could really benefit other people as well. And when you show up with that mentality, build your circle of support, it's no longer an extraction, but it's rather like a community building where, and it's not like a one-to-one, like I'm going to give you something and you're going to give me something in exchange. It works out where like you may be contributing to several people and then somebody else ends up contributing to you for whatever reason, right? And so it's just like having an abundance mindset and remembering your value and that you also have a lot to offer in those spaces as well.
I have learned that. That's been so important ever since I've met Yvette Delgado, who helps with this. And my circle of influence, my circle of support has grown in so many ways, and it didn't feel like it was networking. It was just, I went with the attitude, I want to know this person. I want to know who you are and how can I help. You go with gratitude rather than, well, if I get to know this person, I can get something from them. Attitude, the mindset, right?
Yes. Jose, your whole face lit up. I know you have an example for us.
The what?
Your whole face lit up as we talked about it. Like,
so I do, because I got invited to one of these events and I was a sponsor, and being from New York and growing up the way I did, rather than sit at the table, I saw people going in and out of the kitchen and setting up. So I said, you know what? My values, I couldn't just sit here. So I end up helping. And in helping, I met all these beautiful human beings that some of them I've had on my show. But that was not the intent. It was like to help and so on. And the relationship build on trust and communication.
I love that.
And that was the start of it, because I was still going through, like a lot of us in the government, we took the DRP, we took the thing. So once that happened, it clicked. It just became so beautiful to enjoy these people I've met, to network. And it was what I mean in a domino effect, that once I got to meet other, hey, let me introduce you to so-and-so, because they knew who I was. That
Absolutely.
I never would. It was just, so I got to thank Yvette Delgado. I know she's listening, but that's been my, that's been one of the things that have helped me since I retired. But it was the networking in a great way. So I needed to share that because it really helped me a lot.
And, the example that you just provided is also such a reminder of the importance of figuring out how you could show up authentically in those spaces, right? Like your whole face lit up. You were like, you clearly were in your element as you were helping folks at that particular event, and it felt natural to you.
Yeah.
That's not something, like, you have had experience, you're clearly an amazing networker, right? And when folks are in like earlier career, like it's not necessarily something that's going to happen natural and it's going to start like that. So just, if you're listening and you're like, oh man, like networking is so difficult, like try things out and like figure out what feels authentic to you.
Yes.
Because once you find that, that's a sweet spot where like you become attractive. When you're like standing in your power and being authentic, that just like emanates like power and like abundance, and other people want some of that, you know, so they're gonna gravitate towards you. So great example, Jose.
No, thank you, man. Thank Dr. Ana Maria. It's been quite a thing. So, you know, and that's why I tell people volunteer. Not everything you do is about making money. Put yourself out there. And Dr. Ana Maria, if you can talk about the types of circle of support that is out there, that we'll appreciate that.
Yes. Okay. So usually when I ask folks like, do you network or do you have a circle of support? People generally do, right? But then when we, you know, I have a whole workbook activity that I do on this, and then I ask people to kind of like fill out the different categories of folks that they know. And so I would encourage you all, like, if you want to do that right now, you could go ahead and grab a piece of paper. And if not, like after this show, but essentially think about considering your industry. Who are the different players that touch your life and your career in some way, or should, you know? Some people, like, to give you ideas of some gaps that are common. Some gaps that are common are people network within their organization, and they may want to be like, yeah, they want their boss and their boss's boss to know them, and generally people in their department. And oftentimes they don't think about same industry, different organization, right? And so if that's the case, consider going to conferences, and consider who are other thought leaders who are not in your immediate department, who you could benefit, and they could benefit from knowing you. So that's often like a gap. The other thing is that we tend to think really hierarchically and think about people who have like our ideal job or like a couple steps ahead. Absolutely. We definitely want to connect with those folks. And we want to know, we want to understand and hear from people from different generations. There's a lot that we could learn from folks who are coming from younger folks, who are entry level, who are starting their careers. You know, when you think about thought leadership, who are the folks in your industry who are publishing books on the topics that you're learning about? Who are the people who are putting together the workshops for the type of professional development that is important to you? Those are often things that we don't automatically think about, that should be part of like our long-term plan of the different buckets of folks that we should connect with. And then finally, one thing that I want folks to be aware of is, depending on where you are in your leadership journey, the higher up you go, this is something that comes as a surprise. It came as a surprise to me a few years ago. Many executives and people in the C-suite have their own board of directors. That is not the board of directors of the company, but is the board of directors for them and their leadership as individuals. So think about, how can you assemble a group of folks who would have your best interests at heart, who have different skill sets, and who could occasionally come together as a group and give you advice in terms of your leadership and your strategy. That becomes very important the higher up you go. And that's not something that you create overnight. That's something that, you know, you build relationships over the years, and eventually you build enough trust, and people have enough buy-in and and like believe in you as a person that they will be willing to do something like that. So this is a little bit more like, you know, expert level networking. And for folks who have not heard, that's like the really important thing about like coaching and leadership development. It's like, we need folks to pull the curtain and tell us the things that are happening behind the scenes, so that we know. That's how people end up getting those positions, right? That's how you end up becoming CEO.
Yeah, that when you said pull the curtain, it reminds me of the Wizard of Oz. I always think of the Wizard of Oz. Who's really pulling the string? What's going on behind the scenes? And when you mentioned about, one thing I learned when I served was, you know, I was what they call a senior NCO. but I learned so much from that younger generation. It was a two-way street, and they actually respect you more when you ask somebody, you know, what do you think about that? How do you see we can do this better, whatever the task at hand is? And that is so important. You know, we get leaders sometimes who think they're the end of all and don't take anybody's, you know, guidance, think they have all the answers. And my experience when I serve, they get set up for failure when you do that in a vacuum, thinking in a vacuum. And, you know, I think you talked about it when someone intentionally builds a diverse circle of support. How important is that? Because we all look at diversity a little different, but what would that look like?
Yeah, diversity is not just like people's like ethnic background or culture. It's like seniority, level of expertise, like are folks within the company or outside the company, like that we really need to think outside of the box and push ourselves as we think about our network, so that we you know, like a very common roadblock that happens that I hear clients have is that, you know, let's say they work in a big organization and their direct supervisor may not be their biggest champion, you know, and then they feel stuck and they feel like they have a roadblock there and then they cannot move beyond that. A really important strategy, for example, in that case, is that you become a thought leader within your industry so that, you know, your boss's colleagues from other organizations or even within the same company begin to notice you and can even ask, you know, your direct supervisor, like, oh, I noticed Jose like was volunteering in that ERG, or like I noticed Jose doing this thing, right? And that in many ways kind of like resets the clock or like inspires potentially like a change or like a potential promotion eventually. So so when we think about diversity of your circle of support, it's really accounting for the many folks beyond like our immediate circle that could really help us.
That is so true what you said. And, you know, one of the things for not just leaders, but just individuals, you know, what role does being vulnerable play in building a stronger support system?
I think that's a great question. I think you need to, and Jose, I know you do conflict resolution and we talk about like the importance of having emotional intelligence. So let me start by saying this. In the workplace, actually, I have a book coming out and one of my chapters is on the trust that we build within the workplace. And the way I see trust and the way that I support my clients as we think about this idea of trust is that there are three pillars. One of those pillars is the person reliable? Like, do they show up every day at the same time? Do they respond the same way? Is the person competent? Do they actually know how to do their job?
Yes.
And then the third pillar is the person's intentions good? Like, do they actually have good intentions, or are they like not a nice person, right?
Right.
Understanding those trust pillars in the workplace are really important because they could really give us data as to how it is that we want to work with somebody. You know, like if I have assessed that somebody does not have my best interest at heart, I may not be very vulnerable with that person because they may use that against me, right?
Gotcha.
However, being vulnerable is really like you need to make like you need to identify and build trust with certain leaders and get to a point where you have enough trust that you do want to be vulnerable. You do want to talk about your shortcomings. You do want to ask scary questions because that's what's going to take you to the next level. And for you to be able to feel empowered as you're doing so, you could have control by saying like, you know, this person, like there's something about them that like, I don't feel good. Like, I'm not going to tell them, like in Spanish, no voy a poner los trapitos al sol. I'm not going to share like my vulnerable pieces to them, right? Like I'm going to have a very professional relationship and I'm going to keep it at that. And then somebody else, once we have identified those trust pillars, we need to push ourselves out of the comfort zone and really be vulnerable to be able to make it to the next level.
Yeah. And somebody posed a question that says, I hear you say network, connection, and collaborate.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
And go ahead.
No, go ahead, ma'am. Go ahead.
Yeah, another way to think about it is, and this, we have different cultural scripts depending on our background.
Mm-hmm.
For example, in the Latino community, hard work, like pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps and just putting our head down and working really hard is one of the main cultural scripts that as a community many Latinos identify with and show up at work with that mentality. I'm making a generalization that is actually based on research, so it's not every Latino identifies this way, but it is a trend within Latinos. And that's not like only to Latino communities. I know other identities also have that perspective of, and I think many immigrant communities from other identities as well have that mentality of like, I'm going to put my head down and work really hard.
Yes.
If I work really hard, I'm eventually going to be noticed and I'm going to get promoted. And that is where we fall short, because I argue that it is a trifecta. You need to be highly effective. So yes, you need to work really hard, but not only work really hard, but also be effective, right? Like the output of your work needs to actually yield results. But that's only one of the, like the things that we need to consider. The other two are that we want to be highly visible and highly networked. So highly networked, we've talked about, Jose, this entire time, right? Like the people that we connect with, super important. And we often conflate visibility with network, and those two things are different. Gotcha. Network is like who we know. Visibility is basically who recognizes us, who knows us. And so I would argue those are like the three pillars as we think about as we think about how to move up the leadership ladder.
And we just had one. Somebody said 100%. Zuli said 100%. I wanted to bring that up.
Zuli introduced us. Thank you, Zuli, for making that connection. And Zuli is my client who was part of my leadership cohort. Absolutely love Zuli. So thank you for tuning in, Zuli, and for the connection.
She is stupendous. She is awesome. And if someone right now is listening right now and they feel like they're navigating life or leadership alone, what message would you give them today?
You got it. You have more power than you realize. And the first step is to take account of what are the trends, what are the things that are slowing you down, and to really understand your own personal data so that you could take action on that data. But if you're if you're in a room and you are feeling intimidated, the fact that you're in that room means you belong in that room. So you already have what it takes. My message is you got it. That's the most important message.
You got it. And we have somebody who say, it says, who knows that you can be a sponsor, I guess?
Who knows you that can be a sponsor?
You can be a sponsor, yes.
Yeah, so we haven't touched on this. And LinkedIn user, if you want to expand more, we would love to hear from you. The difference between a mentor and a sponsor is something that often comes up in this type of conversation, right? Like a mentor is somebody who tells you what to do, gives you advice based on where they're at. And a sponsor is somebody who will talk about you in rooms where you're not at. So, so you need people in all the that's why you want a nice diverse circle, because you definitely want sponsors and you definitely want mentors as well.
Right. So as we get close, I want to bring up, what is it that you do and bring some of your stuff. So we're going to bring up the PowerPoint and I will leave it up to you, Dr. Ana Maria.
Okay, so you want me to talk about my services?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, absolutely. Yes. So I am the CEO of a management consulting firm, and I support folks as they're navigating different leadership challenges and interpersonal challenges within the workplace. So I work with folks one-on-one through one-on-one coaching. And I also work with organizations. I have a team, and we support folks through change management. So as organizations are dealing with layoffs, as they're dealing with change, chaos, anything that disrupts the culture, or let's say a new leader comes in and they're trying to come up with new SOPs or new ways of being as an organization, we come in, we do listening tours, we do coaching, and then we support the organization in shifting culture in the right direction in a way that's really responding to their needs, and really kind of like a bottom-up approach where folks are really feeling heard and supported as they go through that process.
Right. I'll go to the next slide.
Yes. So if you want to chat with me, you could do that through one-on-one. If it's a corporate change management support, happy to support with you, do that as well. And then finally, something super exciting is that we have a new vertical for our consulting, which is supporting folks at the intersection of culture and AI enablement. And so if you are an organization looking to install some AI strategies, and you're worried about what does that mean for the culture, like what does that mean ethically, how are people going to think about this, I'm your girl, because I come in and I support with like the human aspect of AI, right? Like how do we come to terms with making these decisions? How do we make sure that folks within the organization are having a say and decision-making power as to what type of AI is going to be included? How do you come up with like the policies and the AI manifesto, for example? So it is really people-centered and culture-centered. So if AI is something you're considering, this is a great time to talk to me as well.
Oh, wow. All right. Hey.
Yes, connect with me on LinkedIn. If you look up my very short name, Dr. Ana Maria Lopez Caldwell, you'll find me. Would love to connect. Hi, Suli. Yes. Say hello. Send me a message. I would love to chat with folks.
Yes. All right. And let's talk about something that's upcoming.
Yes. Okay. So I have a book coming out. It's called The 12 Principles of Empowering High Achievers to Lead with Authenticity and Impact. So I previewed one of the chapters with you all, which is the 3 pillars of trust. And so they're just like really beautiful short nuggets of wisdom that I've created over the years. These are the 12 most common principles that come up as I work with leaders and their pain points. And so these are the ones that come up time and time again, and that have like a high impact when they use these strategies. So like how to have difficult conversations, how to avoid toxic positivity, how to lead in times of chaos. So if you are a leader or an aspiring leader, this is a short book that has those 12 principles, and it has workbooks, digital workbooks for each chapter, so that you could work through that on your own as well.
Yeah, and there's a QR code, ladies and gentlemen. So please, take a picture or take a picture on your phone by holding it, and then you can always scan it. And here are the ways you can talk about ways people can get a hold of you, Dr. Ana Maria.
Yeah, there's my link tree. You could email me. You could find me on Instagram, LinkedIn. I'd love a conversation. Feel free to book me for a 15-minute call just to chat, say hello, tell me what you thought about today's talk, give me your opinion. And yeah, I'm here, available, and always rooting for your leadership.
Cool. And let's take this here. And so what legacy do you hope to leave through your work, empowering leaders and fostering cross-culture collaboration for Dr. Ana Maria?
My legacy is, honestly, it's as simple as that. When I leave this earth, that I made this world a better place, and that people felt heard, felt seen. You asked me earlier, like, how did I end up doing, like, what inspired me to do this work?
Mhm.
And I told you a little bit about my immigrant story,
Yes.
but something when I was like in different leadership roles that I had, there's this feeling of isolation that happens the higher up you go in leadership. And I had this like deep desire to feel understood and heard and supported, because I felt like I was holding it together for my entire organization.
Mm.
I wanted somebody to do that for me. And that's why I started my consulting. And that is my hope that I'm doing, is that I am providing the support and the listening for leaders. Leadership is so scary. It's so
Yeah.
hard, it's so vulnerable. And leaders deserve a partner who could be there to provide like that psychological support and listening, as well as like the very important data and tools and actionable steps to take. So that's what I want to leave behind.
No, that's I think that's an incredible legacy, and we all need to have that, because sometimes fear stops us so much. That confidence, and what's the worst somebody can say is no, but at least it's better to have tried. And again, one of the things I've learned, I just need to share this. Somebody in LinkedIn says, you're welcome, Jose. It takes a village. Welcome to the tribe. That's part of my tribe. So made me feel so good, and just having people surround you that give you positivity, inspire, even that has things that don't have to do with work, but just personal, that I can trust and say, man, I am going through this. It's more than just networking and work for me. It's a personal development, I would say. When we talk about what people go through, and I know we covered this too, there's a lot of things going on in the world. There's a lot of uncertainty.
We're going through it.
Oh, and if you can talk about the mindset, for people, what we're dealing with right now, how do we move forward? In your opinion, what would you tell people?
Okay, number one, give yourself grace. This is a really, really difficult time in our history. There's Zuli, who's here. She's been part of my course, so she's heard about this before, but I think many of you probably haven't. This is not a very common term, called a polycrisis, which is this idea that we are experiencing more crises, and they are more intense, and they're happening more often. And that just deregulates us, like our mental health, our ability to like be calm and collected. Like we're just dealing with so much on a daily basis that we our systems are having a hard time keeping up, right? So that is baseline, without then adding wanting our careers and wanting leadership, and then managing folks or working with folks and their feelings and their families and their identities and all of the baggage that's coming with all of these crises that are happening. And so acknowledging that we're going through it as a community, no matter who you are, like everybody's going through it, right? Like things are hard. And then, like what I tell my clients is like, pick a lane. We all want to do so much to support. And the reality is, like, each one of us, we have superpowers, and we have like specific skills in specific areas. And oftentimes we dilute our superpower by trying to do too much. And so, it's just like, how do you want to contribute positively to the world? Like do that well, but don't be guilty about the 10 other things that you could be doing, because that's what we do, right? Like we feel guilty because we care about our people. But we, like joy is resistance, community is resistance. Like we need each other. We need to be able to also give ourselves grace and say, like, you know what, I'm exhausted. Like it's too much going on. Like I'm going to do this beautiful thing, like you just asked me about my legacy. Like I want that to be my legacy, and I'm putting my heart into it. But guess what? Like after we get off this call, like I'm gonna go hang out and relax.
Yes,
right?
yes.
Like, we need that. Everybody needs that. So we need to give ourselves permission to just be and be happy.
Dr. Ana Maria, that is so true. One of the hardest things for me was saying no. And I would drain my cup, but I had nothing to fill my cup up, my emotional, everything. And I've learned that. And I've also learned that I used to be a people pleaser. as we go through things. And part of it is being Latino. Part of it is my military training, but you're absolutely correct. And I'm learning to say no. And I just want to say thank you, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Ana Maria, for being here and just dropping, that information, your experience, your love, your passion. I could feel it,
I can see yours, Jose. Yes, it's mutual. Thank you for your service as well.
My pleasure. You're worth it.
How many years? You said 30?
30 years active duty.
30 years active duty. That is remarkable. Thank you so much for that. And thank you for this energy, amazing energy. We have incredible listeners in a great community. So thank you for welcoming me in this space, and in whatever way I can be supportive, I'm happy to do so.
And Dr. Ana Maria, when your book gets out, please reach out back to us and we'll promote it, whatever we need to do to support. And once the book is out and we'd love to have you back on to say, hey, this is how it went, if you don't mind. That would be great.
I would love that. Yes,
absolutely. And I want to say thank you to all the audience. You guys have been stupendous. Thank you so much as always.
Yes.
And to the tribe out there. Does anybody have any more comments? I don't know if somebody before we get ready to close this out.
I would love to ask a question, which is what I ask my clients after each session.
Go ahead. Yes.
What's one takeaway from today? So if you have any takeaway, share it in the chat. What is one takeaway from today's conversation?
We got some time. Please post in the comments. Yes. What is one takeaway? Absolutely.
We'll get folks time to think about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And but we're doing that. We got a little bit of time, and I'll post this back on. Hey, support the channel so we can continue to bring great guests like Dr. Ana Maria. It was stupendous. And next week I'm taking just so you know, I'm taking a radio day because I got my family. My son from Hawaii will be here, but the 28th will be at the VFW. And I'm having a senior moment, but I'll put that in there on my Motivational Monday. But I just want to say thank you to Dr. Ana Maria, to the audience. It's just been really stupendous. I want to see if any questions came up. No, not yet. People, don't be shy. Okay. And somebody says, make sure your circle is diverse.
Love that.
Got it. That's what they took away. Okay. That's one of the takeaways there. Anybody else? I know for me, it's just be bold. Just step out of your comfort zone. Just step out of your comfort zone. I took that away. Somebody said, expand your circle. That's a takeaway.
Yes.
Well,
if anybody has questions or would like to connect, hit me up on any of those platforms. And thank you. It's such an honor to be here.
Hey, I've put the QR code up there, ladies and gentlemen. Please take a moment to look at it. And if you still need, you can always reach out to me and I'll share the contact information. But again, I want to say thank you, Dr. Ana Maria, for being here. It's been stupendous. And please have a blessed weekend. Enjoy time with your family because that's what's important. To the audience, thank you. And Dr. Ana Maria, gracias.
Thank you, Jose. Muchas gracias. Have a great rest of the weekend, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Life is like a duck. Tough times don't last, but tough people do. Here at Military Broadcast Radio, we're teaming up with our friends at Die Tired, the veteran-friendly music band spreading strength, resilience, and mental health awareness, one shirt at a time.
And check this out. Their brand new shirts feature broadcast beaker right on the breast pocket. A reminder that you can weather the storm, and you're never alone.
Shirts are only $25, and proceeds support giving veterans a voice. MBR's mission to teach veterans how to podcast and videocast. Because when our vets are talking, they're not overthinking. They're not second-guessing. Together, we stop the 22 stigma. Grab your shirt today at mbradio.us and hit the shop. Or go directly to toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband. That's toramerch.printavo.com/merch/dietiredband.
Suit up, stand strong.
Remember, we're unduckable together.
You're built tougher than the storm.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for tuning in to Military Broadcast Radio. As we wrap up today's show, we want to remind you that the podcast of today's episode will be available right after we go off the air. So if you missed any part of the show or want to listen again, be sure to check it out. And remember, we're here to support and honor our veterans. Your stories and experiences matter, and we are committed to giving you a platform to share them. That's right. We're here to give our veterans a voice. So don't forget to catch the podcast and stay connected with us. Giving our veterans a voice.